and welcome to episode 8 of the John Doe Review. My name is Danielle. You guessed it, John Doe, obviously. I got this little mic on me, and y'all, I'm stressed out. One, I'm gonna acknowledge the elephant in the room. I came in here real true to myself today. And by that, I mean, I just have so much shit to do today because we leave, and by we, I mean me and my husband, we leave for Japan in less than 24 hours. I still have quite a bit of things to do. I think you can see our bags in the back, or those are his. We're checking, actually the big one is an empty suitcase if you're watching this. Because apparently, when you go to Japan, you're going to shop until you drop. So I just wanted to be prepared for that. So we're checking a huge empty suitcase so that we can fill it up if need be, probably. And then I have a bunch of stuff to do around the house. I probably need to leave here at some point to run other errands before we go. Am I probably unreasonably stressed? Maybe. I have been packing since Monday. And I'm still not fully done. I'm mostly done, but guys, I've been out of the country before, quite a few times actually, like South America, Europe, Canada. I've never been to Asia, and I know how different things are over there from doing research. And so I'm mentally trying to make sure I hit every single thing that we could possibly need, because I don't know if I could figure out how to navigate over there. I have a translating app, I have some Duolingo, and I have a hope and a prayer, okay? So keep me in your thoughts. I'll probably talk a little more about why I'm sitting here in a bathrobe with no makeup on. I just did my morning skincare and put Aquaphor on, so you guys did get a little something from me, okay? Yeah, so... Oh my God, I just drooled a little bit. Holy shit. It's Wednesday, April 15th, and I always record my episodes on Wednesdays because I like to have time to edit them before I have to post them on Sunday. But in this scenario, I didn't have any time to record my episode before Wednesday, so I need to record this, knock it out, edit all of it, and set it to post before we leave, ideally, because I don't want to have to worry about this when I'm 14 hours ahead of the time here. All right, for today's topics, we have remembering I don't want to say traumatic, remembering a unique situation from elementary school in regards to my music teacher, Mr. Long, who's no longer a teacher. You'll figure out why. And a very odd prank he played on us for April Fools. Next topic, me and Hunter finished Verity. I have thoughts, especially about how it was wrapped up, and just overall Colleen Hoover's writing in that book. Next, the drama with Zendaya and Rob. Insane movie. I have so many thoughts. And then lastly, just two semi-short stories. One of them regarding how I'm a hater for motorcycles. I know, they're cool, but might as well talk about it. It's been on my mind. And then we're going to wrap it up with a story on, I've realized I've never worn a tank top in my life, apparently. Then after that, obviously, because this is the John Doe Review, I have to review the last 2 weeks of my life out of 5 stars, and you got to stay until the end to figure it out. And guys, look, if I can show up and record this episode looking like this, y'all can stay until the end to figure out what I rate the last 2 weeks out of 5 stars. Okay, let's do it. Back to what I was talking about in regards to being stressed for Japan. Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm fully stressed out. I'm just nervous. I'm nervous and I'm worried that I'm forgetting something. And then also, this is my first international trip without a parent with me. Usually it's my dad that comes with me, sometimes my mom. And then this is Hunter's first international trip ever. He's never been outside of the US. He's traveled within it, but this is a big step for him. And it's to Asia, which I've always heard is the biggest culture shock if you're somebody who likes to travel. And so I'm trying to make sure like he's got everything he needs. He's handling his stuff. I'm handling my stuff. And then we have our conjoined stuff. Like, okay, we need our medications because on our honeymoon, we got sick as hell. So like packing medications just in case, making sure we have everything, our hair products, our lotions, our skincare, our sunscreen, our international driver's license. So many things. I need to clean the house before we leave. I need to do laundry before we leave. I haven't done any of that yet because I have to record this podcast episode. Ugh. And there's more, but I don't need to get into it. I'm committed to this podcast though. I'm not going to miss an episode and they're going to be on time. That is my goal. I'm not going to miss one and they're always going to come out on Sundays. Okay. And if I make this goal for the end of 2026, nothing will happen, but I'll feel accomplished. I am very excited for the trip though. My cousin and her boyfriend are already in Japan, and then me and Hunter fly out tomorrow and get there Friday Japan's time, like early Friday afternoon. And so we're going to meet up with them and just, have a party. Have a party in Japan. I know once we get to the airport, my nerves are going to dissipate. Because I think once I hit the airport, my brain will be like, there's nothing you can do at this point. Like, there's no turning back. There's nothing you could go by. There's nothing that you could, and maybe we should know it's too late. And so I want to get to the airport. It's going to be early in the morning because our first flight to Minneapolis is at 6 a.m. So we're getting to the airport for 3, which means we're getting up at like 1:30 to leave by like 2-ish. And it'll be a long day. We have that first flight and it's like 3 hours. And then we have our flight to Japan from there, which is like almost 13. But we've downloaded a bunch of movies and we're on Delta. So I know they have screens there. And then also shout out my dad. He works for Delta. So we're on the upgrade list. Fingers crossed we get upgraded to Delta 1. Or premium. I would prefer Delta 1 though, because your seat can literally turn into a bed. It's amazing. And I also really want Hunter to experience it because like how cool would it be for his first international flight? He gets to experience the freaking bed seat thing. Yeah, that's all I have now. Next episode will be all the fun stories from Japan. Yay! And I'll be exhausted because it'll be like not even a week since we've been back. And it's like packed. Like I go to Japan, I get back from Japan, I go to Florida for a concert, then I fly from Florida back to Houston on Sunday. And then I go to work on Monday. And then it's like the week of a big event for my job. Oh, yeah, like I said, keep me in your thoughts, guys. All right, getting into the actual topic one of this week's episode. Let's go. So April Fool's just recently passed. And on the day, I was thinking about pranks I've done or pranks that people have done to me. And I had this memory from elementary school. I want to say it was like, oh my God, a robin. What? Anyways, just saw a literal red robin on the fence. Okay, I like your burgers. I had this memory from like, it was either 2nd or 3rd grade. And I had music class on April Fool's Day with our teacher, Mr. Long. He was our music teacher for, the entire elementary school. And he told us, you guys, we're going to play musical chairs today. But here's the caveat. If you get out, I'm assuming everyone's familiar with musical chairs, unless you live under a rock. If you don't find a chair, you're out of the game. He said, if you get kicked out of the game, I'm going to give you a referral. I'm going to give you a referral and call your parents and like, I don't know if elementary school back then had detention, but it was a full thing, right? And so we're all like, haha, Mr. Long, that's so funny, whatever. We start playing this musical chairs game. We're going in circles. Music's playing. Whatever the song was. I don't remember what it was. And the music cuts off. Obviously, I find a chair. You think I'm gonna get knocked out in the first round? What the fuck do I look like? Okay? So I get my chair, I'm secured. Somebody else doesn't get a chair though, obviously, because there's always gonna be a one difference, right? So that first person doesn't get their chair. And our teacher is like, all right, you're out. And we're all like, ha ha ha, whatever. Pulls, I think it was a boy, pulls him to the side, writes a referral, and like sits him down in the corner. So then at this point, we're all like, what, 7 or 8? We're all like, oh shit, wait, Mr. Long, are you serious right now? Anyways, he has us play this game. You know, music plays, when it stops, somebody's out, okay, stand up, remove a chair, repeat. And after every single person who gets kicked out, he pulls them to the side, writes a referral, sits them down. So then this is why I think my anxiety started young. Because as each round goes on, it gets more and more tense. And way more serious, because I mean we're doing the game like, oh my god, like this was our version of Squid Game, I swear. And so then it keeps going, kids keep getting more and more upset. I'm in the back of my mind going, no, Danielle, I know it's April Fool's Day, this has got to be an April Fool's joke, but also he's an adult and he hasn't said April Fool's yet, so this has got to be serious. So kids at this point are crying. Kids who have been kicked out of the game are crying. Kids who are still in the game are crying. Not me. I wasn't a crier like that. But eventually I get kicked out. He sits me down, writes my referral. Like I see him fill out the whole form, say he's going to call my mom, whatever. Sits me down. And then at this point, I'm in the crying corner. Everybody's sobbing. Look, I have empathy. So then I start getting a little misty-eyed. I'm sitting there like, oh my God, my life is over. What am I going to tell my mom and dad? I mean, I tried, but they were so fast and I couldn't get to that chair quick enough. Fuck. So it gets to the last round and it's 2 kids. One of them has anger issues. And I'm talking about, if you were in like elementary school with me, you probably know who I'm talking about. He like went by his middle name, but he like had a different first name, if you get what I mean. Like in regards to who I'm referring to, this kid had, and probably still has, because like all the way through high school, I would talk to him and be like, something's wrong and you need help. And I don't think he ever got it. And I do feel bad for him. But like fully had anger issues, like would fly off the handle. It was like very well known. Teachers would be like, guys, ignore it, blah, blah, blah. It's him, obviously, because he's going hard as fuck in this game. And somebody else, I can't remember. There's the one chair in between them. The music starts, and they're just circling this chair like sharks. Music cuts off. He misses the chair. The other person gets the chair. So the kid with the anger issues loses. He gets second place. And like fully crashes out. Like, this is stupid. And our music teacher's like, I'm sorry, man. That's the game. Writes him a referral. Obviously, he starts angry crying. And like, at this point, everybody but the one kid who won, who's like, haha, yeah, I'm good. Like, whatever. Everybody's crying at this point. There are some like, some kids back in elementary school, like you would maybe label them like a goody two shoes. Like they took getting in trouble at school extremely seriously. Like those type of kids are like wailing. I'm like in the corner like, oh my God, my life is over. And then obviously the kid who got second is like fully in a rage. And finally, our music teacher, Mr. Long, stands up with the pile of referrals he just wrote and like stands in front of this sobbing class of, I don't know, second graders and is like, shh, and rips the pile in half. And we're all just sitting there like, what is happening? And then he's like, April Fools, guys. And I don't think anyone laughed. I think some kids were just like, oh, thank God. Like, oh my God, I was about to get grounded and have my Game Boy taken away. I think it was just an exhale of like relief. But then there are some kids who are like so distraught from their emotions, and we're like 8 or maybe 7. So they're still like in the throes of having to move through the emotions of thinking they just got a freaking referral for losing musical chairs. I don't remember how that class ended. I don't think we did anything else. I think he just let people cry and like consoled those who were like really upset, like, guys, no, I'm not calling your parents, like, you're not in trouble, huh? Just April Fool's pranked you, huh? And I remember hearing that and being like, oh, cool, okay, I feel like that was a little crazy though, but I'm only 7, so I don't know if I could fully judge what crazy is yet. But I'm a rock with it. Yay, I don't have a referral. Hell yeah. Long story short, in regards to that teacher, he's no longer a teacher. You want to know why? Because he choked a kid. Yeah, he choked a kid. He actually choked an old friend of mine's little brother. And he's fine. He's fine. I think from what was described to me, it was like the kid was being like, young boys can be like freaking rage baiters. Sure. Not an excuse though. I think he like picked him up like around his neck or his collar, like, and basically choked him and like said like, you think this is funny? Something like that. Literally insane. Thank God he's no longer teaching, because I hadn't thought about that musical chairs thing until the story of him choking a kid came out and like him getting fired. And I remember being like, wow, I'm so shocked that Mr. Long got fired. What the hell? And then I thought about Mr. Long and then I went, oh, okay. So I'm glad that he's not in the classroom anymore, and we're going to move on. I don't know where he's at to this day, maybe in jail. I don't know how any of that played out. Shout out elementary music though. It is a very important space for children to have. But let's make sure we're putting good people in charge of classrooms with children, right? I think that would be a good idea. All right, let's move on to the next topic before I dwell on this too much. I finished Verity. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's a book that I kind of talked about last episode. I finished it with Hunter. To summarize everything, basically, Verity's a terrible person all the way up until the end of the book. And she's a terrible person because the main character, Lowen, is reading her autobiography in secret, hiding it from her husband and her, like, young son. And in this autobiography, she finds out she's done all these terrible things, literally tried to, like, give herself an abortion, which, like, I'm pro-choice, but the way she went about it was kind of crazy. And then she's, like, hiding it from her husband. And like pretending that she wants these kids, but like she literally tried to kill them, like inside of her, and like one of them has a scar on their face, and it's so crazy. And then 2 out of the 3 kids die. And so basically, last episode, I'm thinking, okay, as we're going through this autobiography, you get the vibes that, oh, she like purposely killed these kids. And then after finishing the book, I find out one of the kids genuinely died by an accident. The other one died in an accident. Basically, she drowned in the mom. Verity could have saved her, but she chose not to because she was convinced that twin was the reason the other twin died. And the other twin that died was her favorite kid. I don't know how. She just said like at one point it clicked. Oh, no. She had like a nightmare that the other twin killed the other twin. So then in her brain, she was like, this is a sign from God that this twin is evil and this twin's good. So I'm going to like the good twin. I'm going to hate the bad twin. Anyways, good twin, quote unquote, dies. And then she lets the bad twin drown while she like pretends that she tried to say. Anyways, all of this leads to a head. She gets the husband, Jeremy, to find out that Verity's been faking her injuries and blah, blah, blah. And Verity like finally stops pretending that she's like literally paralyzed and can't talk or think or whatever. And it's like, let me explain, blah, 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 blah. Jeremy kills her, which like, I will say violence is never the answer. Is it kind of understandable for his crash out once he like realizes, oh my God, so you did kill a child of mine? Like, what the fuck? But what's weird though is it was so immediate. It was so immediate. He was like, okay, now I'm gonna kill you. Because apparently he tried to kill her before, and that's why she got into the accident that made her a quote unquote vegetable. Oh, but it was like a job not well done. And so then she came back, and I guess he felt bad because now this isn't like the same woman who he tried to kill. But no, it was. She was just pretending. Y'all, I don't even know. So he kills her with Lowen in the room. They go off, have a baby together, whatever. It's messy as hell. But then in the last chapter of the book, they go back after she's like heavily pregnant or maybe just had a baby. I can't remember. And they go back to the house to like finish packing up because they're moving, obviously, because he murdered his wife in there. What the fuck? And hid it, and it's a whole cover-up thing. He made it to where like she choked on her vomit in her sleep. No, he shoved his fingers in her mouth. Lowen's back in the room, finds like a secret floorboard thing, pulls a letter out from dead Verity at this point. And in the letter, it's basically like, I know you won't believe me. And this is like after she's had her accident. She wrote this while she's like currently faking like being, I don't know, ill or whatever. She's like, I know you won't believe me, but it was all a lie. And my autobiography was just a reading exercise. And I actually never did those horrible things. And because all of my books that I'm famous for are from a villain's perspective, my like writing person, coach, whatever, told me to do exercises by like writing about my life from a villain's perspective and yada, yada, yada. And it was big, in my opinion, it gave the same feeling as, and it was all a dream. Shut up. Oh my God, how lazy. And so then the book wraps up, and it like, this is where I can see people saying Colleen Hoover's writing is kind of cliche and like kind of, I don't know, just not the best, is I think the concept of Verity, the book, is extremely interesting. That's why I read it. Like, I didn't hate reading the book. I do wish it wrapped up better. I feel like it was pretty lazy because how in the last couple of pages, I hate when any form of media like spoon feeds you how to think, like be it a book or a movie or a show, where they're like, it's like exposition, but like it's the character thinking. So Lowen at the end is like, oh my God, so does this mean that we killed an innocent woman? Or does this mean that this was just another way of Verity to manipulate Jeremy into doing what she wants because she was manipulative in the autobiography? And what should I believe? She did this, but then she did that. What do I think? And it was like, oh, I could very much see that it was Colleen Hoover being like, all right, guys, so whose team are we on? Are we on team the letter is real and Verity's innocent? Or are we on team Lowen saved a whole family because Verity was actually really evil and was like probably trying to kill the son too? Like, who would have thought? Like, isn't that crazy? And it's like, I just think it could have been done way more better. If we're talking about whose team I'm on team, I guess Lowen was right and Verity was a bad person. Because look, I get what she was trying to do with, you know, the letters of discovery. And oh my God, now this puts everything into a different perspective. But here's my thing. If you're going to do something like that, you need to have better foreshadowing at that possibly being a legitimate reality. In my opinion, there's no real foreshadowing of Verity's character being actually good other than the letter. Literally other than the letter. There are no actions, there's no like stories from Jeremy, there's no real dialogue from anyone who knew her that she was like secretly, or not secretly, but she was like this good person who blah blah blah, right? No, in fact, everything in the book thoroughly points to Verity is a bad person and like has been manipulating her entire family for all of her life, even how she got with her husband Jeremy. Like, it was all just one big like manipulation. And so I think putting a letter in at the end saying, "Oh, but actually guys, I'm a good person," is not enough to warrant like an epic debate of, "Okay, now I need to reread this and see if I really think Verity was good. I don't even know what I think anymore." No, I know what I think because the book pretty much points to no, she was a bad person. You can't just make a character saying something the evidence for it being true. Like for me, there has to be like other activities that happened that prove that not only is what they're saying true, but like their actions behind what they did back that. And in this case, it didn't. And so I heard there was a bonus chapter, so I'm like, oh, okay, because apparently people are like, the bonus chapter, it makes it so much better, like, because everybody knows the ending kind of sucked, but then she wrote this bonus chapter, and in my opinion, I'm like, oh, you wrote a bonus chapter after the fact you released it? Okay, so you did realize that the ending was kind of ass. Okay, read the bonus chapter. Jeremy ends up killing another random person because they go on the run, they start their new family, whatever, they're in a completely different state, they run across somebody who knows about the death, and they clock that Jeremy had a child with Lowen, so it looks messy, right? It looks like this guy killed his sick wife to be with a new girl. Whatever. He kills her, and basically the whole bonus chapter is supposed to make it seem like now Jeremy is like this like evil person. And so like maybe Verity was right or was telling the truth because she was scared of Jeremy and all of these actions that you see Jeremy do in this bonus chapter put Verity in a better light and blah blah blah. No, in my opinion, the bonus chapter Jeremy and the book Jeremy are two very different vibes. Like, very different vibes. And you could argue, well, no, Danielle, it's because, now Lowen's with him, so she's seeing the true him. Sure, but again, for me, especially as a reader, or even if I'm, like, watching something, you have to have things that happened beforehand that really make me question. Like, oh, wait, maybe this is legit. You could take Jeremy killing Verity as, like, yeah, so you knew he was scary and violent. But look, the man found out that she, from what he read in her autobiography, that she killed one of their kids. And look, I'm not saying you should kill somebody for killing one of your kids, but I'm saying I can understand how he got there. I don't see any other behavior from Jeremy in the like actual book where it would then make sense for him to just kill somebody who he was a little paranoid at like starting gossip about him having a kid with a girl so soon after his wife passed. Like, I just feel like it was very much a mischaracterization. And if she wanted Jeremy to give those like really questionable vibes on his character, I think she should have done more in the actual book. And then also like Crew, the 5-year-old, does some really weird shit, leaves their newborn baby outside. So like he's messed up. He needs therapy. They're not getting it for him. Basically, all the bonus chapter does, in my opinion, is make you dislike literally everyone. Like there is not a single character in the Verity universe that I actually like. It was Jeremy and Crew. And then the bonus chapter, I was like, what the fuck is happening? And maybe making the reader dislike everyone was her goal, which like go off, I guess. But there's no character that I actually like. Because Lowen also like in the bonus chapter, I mean, she shows signs of it in the main book. I'll give her that. But in the bonus chapter, it's like she's obsessed with becoming like the replacement Verity. She wants to be like the better version of Verity and like everything about her is just better than Verity and Jeremy loves me more and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, girl, you're crazy. Okay. But no, I overall, I did enjoy the book. It sounds like I've been shitting on it for the entire time, but I had fun. It was a fun read for me. I'm not one of those people where it's like, oh, I recognize that this isn't the best writing I've ever read, so I'm just gonna put it down and throw it away. Like, I'm not one of those people. So me and Hunter read it and we did have fun. I can also acknowledge that I was very unsatisfied with the ending of the actual book and then the bonus chapter. I feel like it was Colleen trying to like, and I'm gonna tie this all together. And now Jeremy's bad, so you really have to question everything. No, girl. No, girl. I think it could have been such an epic twist in such a like ambiguous ending that truly makes you question like, what do I believe? But it really just doesn't. It really doesn't. I'm still convinced Verity was a very manipulative person. Because also, let's think about this. If her autobiography was just a writing exercise where she writes like this terrible perspective on her life, making her out to be this villain, if she really was this amazing person, I feel like Jeremy, being her husband, would read that autobiography and catch that some things were off. Because there's so many small details in her autobiography that I'm like, if Jeremy read that and that didn't happen or didn't happen that way, I feel like he'd question and be like, oh, this seems kind of weird. Like, what? And you could argue, well, maybe he was high off of the emotions from his daughter's death. Sure, but I don't think it was done well. I don't think it was done well. It could have been really done well. Like, no. I'm going to give the book 4 out of 10. And for me, average is 5 out of 10, right in the middle. So I would say it's slightly below average. If the ending was better, I probably would have given it like a 6 out of 10. Because I did have fun reading it. Like, me and Hunter, we wanted to know what happened on the next page all the time. Like, we never got to points where we were like, okay, let's put it down for today, other than like if we had to go to bed. So it was a fun read. If you want a fun read, especially for like a book club or reading it with a partner, then yeah, it was a good time. But the ending was disappointing. On to my next review of media, the movie, the drama. Dude. If you haven't watched the movie, skip. You need to watch it. But trigger alert, it does have heavy references to gun violence. So if that makes you uncomfortable, don't watch it. After I saw this movie, before I get into my review, I saw that they had some pushback on not giving a warning. And I see both ways. For me, was I shocked that the main character, the thing that she did was she almost shot up a school, but didn't shoot up a school? I was shocked at the topic, but I wasn't shocked at how disturbing it was, because I'm an avid horror fan. Like I've talked about this before. Like I watch horror movies all the time. I'm a big A24 fan, so I'm very familiar with like the vibes of their stuff. So was I disturbed? Yes, but not to the point of like being upset, because I knew what I was signing up for A24. Where I agree with some of the pushback on them not like giving any warnings on the topic of like gun violence is it like fully goes into the psyche of a school shooter. And even though she doesn't actually shoot up this school, it like you see the whole process of her getting right up to it and posing with guns and shooting things in the forest and all of these things, right? In regards to how somebody could get to that point. And it was kind of hard to watch. I wasn't shocked that it was so disturbing because it's A24, but here's the thing, is I feel like A24, they always, or not always, but for the most part, I feel like their trailers like to keep a lot of stuff secret in their films. So like, it'll hint at it, but then you get to the film and it's like, oh, I would have never foreseen this, right? That's kind of their thing. I feel like in a situation like this, in America, where mass shootings are happening literally every day, where there are so many people in the US that have been affected, be it they experienced one or someone they love experienced one, or even just seeing it on social media or the news, you should have said something. Because also, this movie has Zendaya and Robert Pattinson in it, so I would bet money the drama pulled a way bigger audience than just its normal A24 fans. Like, it pulled Zendaya and Robert Pattinson Twilight fans. Like, come on now. And so you have these people who I bet there's a significant amount of these people who came to the movies to watch it who don't usually watch horror or don't usually watch A24 or just like have never really seen something that disturbing before, who come to the movie because they're a fan of those two. And then they're given that with like no warning. And you could say like, oh, well, in the trailer, you see the reaction that everybody has to it, and they're so disgusted, and oh my God. And so you could have noticed that it was something really bad. And if you noticed that, then you made the decision to go to the movie. Yeah, but I also think you have to think about real life though. There are people who probably didn't watch the trailer, or who like didn't look up why it was rated R, or simply saw Zendaya and Robert Pattinson and said, I'm gonna watch it because I watch everything with them in it. Like, that's being realistic to that. So I do think if their goal was, we don't want to give away that this character was an almost school shooter, so we're just like not gonna give any type of warning. I get the logic in that, but I still think they could have given some sort of hint that, hey, this is a movie regarding like gun violence in America. I don't know. Or like put a trigger warning that like, hey, topics in this film are heavily disturbing and very relevant to today's society. So if you're not prepared for being in that kind of setting, don't watch it. Or like maybe watch it at home if you get anxious or whatever. But they didn't do that. So part of me thinks it was just like a misstep on their end. But also another part of me thinks they maybe knew people weren't going to go see a movie about an almost school shooter in a theater when theater shootings have happened. And they just didn't want to put that out there because they wanted people to go to the theater to see it. I wouldn't put it past a company to do that so that they get more money. So I understand the criticism in regards to that. Let's get into my actual thoughts on the film. So I've already mentioned it, but the whole premise of the drama is it's the week of this couple's wedding. They go out to dinner with two of their friends. And at one point it gets brought up that, oh, before we got married, we revealed the worst thing we've ever done to each other. And so then everybody starts going around the table eventually talking about the worst thing they've ever done. It gets to the character that starts the drama. And she reveals that when she was, I think, 15 or so, she fully planned out a school shooting and like brought a gun to school and inevitably decided not to do it. And like you find this out after kind of getting to know the character, and like you find out she's deaf in one ear, but she lies and said it's because, she was born that way. But then once this is revealed, you find out it's because when she was practicing with the rifle, she like popped her eardrum so she can't hear out of that ear anymore. Like very heavy stuff. But it's revealed during the week of her wedding. And so her fiance's sitting there, and at first, like, you see the vibe of the table, like, ha ha ha, like, that's crazy, girl, like, whatever. But then they realize, like, she's being serious. She's like, no, like, I really did. I almost, like, shot up a school and whatever, but I'm better now and I didn't do it and yada, yada, yada. One of the characters starts flipping out because her cousin was a victim in a school shooting and is like paralyzed from the waist down. And it blows up, and then the movie kind of really starts where you're watching this couple, Emma and Charlie, and Emma's Zendaya, Charlie's Robert Pattinson, navigating this new information. I'm gonna be so honest, I don't even know how I can't even speak. I don't know how I would react. I would be disturbed immediately, but it's like the whole caveat is she didn't do it. But then you think about, okay, but what kind of person gets to that point? And then the movie really starts digging into showing you how she got to that point. And it's the theme that we hear all the time in real life, right? It's a kid who maybe was neglected in some ways, not given enough attention, bullied, situations like that, mental health issues, and then all of that just festered, and then she got to the point where she wanted to shoot up a school. A big thing was, but how could you even get that idea? Like, that was a big thing for the other characters. And I kind of agree with how Emma responds, even though it makes her sound like a psychopath. It's like, what do you mean, how did I get that idea? That's the world we live in. Like, you hear about them all the time. Oh, and it's just, and when she said it like that, I was like, damn, because the fact is, it's not an original idea. Like, I bet this movie made me really think about how there are so many people that we either know or have spoken to or cross paths with briefly that have planned a school shooting or have seriously thought about doing that. And so it was insane to see a movie kind of focus around that. And some people are saying like, oh, it's making you empathize with school shooters. I didn't get that vibe. Are there moments where it kind of shows the how do I describe it? It's like when something's funny, but it's only so funny because it's so insane. Like I guess I'll just use that word, like the insanity of the thought process of this character getting to that point. And so, yeah, there are moments where it's like you laugh, but like I was laughing because it was like, this is so insane. Like, I can't believe this is happening. It never came across as like, oh, we're making light of this, because the whole movie is, no, this is not light information to find out about your significant other. And then if you watch the movie, which I'm assuming if you're listening to this, you did finish it, Charlie crashing out and cheating on Emma. And by cheating, like, he didn't have sex with a girl. It's kind of a similar situation, honestly. He starts making out with his coworker and stuff and like gets to the point of almost having sex, but he doesn't. Which is like a weird parallel of like, Emma almost did this, but she didn't. So like, does it really count? Like, can you be mad? I don't know. I have never been put in a situation in real life or fiction where I saw someone cheat on their spouse and genuinely thought, that's a valid crash out. Like, I can't even, I can't even fully judge you. I do think Charlie's reaction to finding out this information was fully exacerbated because he found it out like, what, 4 or 5 days before his wedding. I think if it was like they had just gotten engaged, they didn't have like a set date or anything, I think that would have been different. He would have had more time to process and really come to his conclusion on like, can I move past this? Can I see past this? Because once he finds it out, he's like hyper analyzing everything he's seen from Emma, any overly emotional moments she's had, anything in their house that can reference a weapon. Like he fully is like, oh my God, like, has this been something that I've just been overlooking this entire time? And he has no time to really think because the wedding's in like a couple of days. And so I think it made his reaction way worse because like everything's heightened. The wedding's in a couple of days. My family's flying in. We've paid all this money, blah, blah, blah. And so when that happened, honestly, I wasn't even shocked. I was like, he's probably in like self-destruct mode right now. I don't know. But then there are some people who I've seen analysis videos say, no, it kind of hints that he has always kind of had a wandering eye. And this happened and he felt like it gave him an excuse to act on it. And I do agree, there are some things that happen in the film, like when they're having their photo shoot and he like looks at the girl at the desk for no reason. Like I can see it, but at the end of the movie, they get together and forgive each other, which honestly is surprising after the wedding. Like, because they get together after the wedding, right? But the wedding itself was such a hot mess. Shout out to the directing. I don't know if it's a shout out in a good way or a bad way. When they fake you out with a gunshot, but it's just the DJ's mic popping during the dad's speech about like being in the military and having guns around his daughter. I have never flinched so hard in my life. And like, I'm not gonna lie, in the movie, like my cousin and her boyfriend had went to see it and they actually left early because they were getting really anxious. And she told me that, but she was like, I'm not gonna tell you why. And as I started watching the movie, when it really started getting into like showing her posing with the guns and stuff, I started getting anxious, not because the actual movie was scaring me, but I started thinking from a like meta perspective of, I'm at the last showing for this movie. It's like 11 at night in Houston, Texas, emphasis on Texas. And it's a movie about an almost school shooter. If someone wanted to make a really insane statement right now, they would come up in here and shoot this shit up. And I hate to put it like that, but that's the world we live in, right? So those are thoughts I have. Like, and honestly, I bet a lot of other Americans feel this way, where it's like, you know, sometimes I'm in a big crowd and then I suddenly become aware, like, oh my God, somebody can have a gun, so let's be aware. So like literally, I turned to Hunter and was like, I'm actually getting really anxious right now, so the exit door's over there in case anything pops off. If somebody wants to, you know, be morbidly funny and make a statement right now. And then that DJ mic pop happened, and I was like, oh. But thankfully, that was the only, like, legitimate moment where I flinched and, like, oh my God, I got legitimately scared for a second. I can agree with my cousin that she left. I didn't feel so anxious to the point of leaving in regards to, like, being scared about somebody coming in the theater. But I did have the same thought process of, if I knew this is what this movie was about, I wouldn't have seen it in theaters. I would have still watched it. Like, my cousin and her boyfriend plan on finishing it when it comes out on streaming. I wouldn't have watched it in the theater solely because people are crazy. The characters forgive themselves or forgive each other in a weirdly, I almost want to say toxic way, because honestly, they just need to go their separate ways. It's a big debate now, like, what would you have done if you were Charlie? Which, like, to this day, I don't know. Me and Hunter did do the, like, tell each other the worst things you've ever done. And, like, they're nowhere near the shit in the movie. Thank God. In the film, it, like, fully glazes past the fact that Rachel, the best friend, like, fully was an asshole. Can we talk about Rachel for a second? All my homies hate Rachel because she's acting like, oh my God, and my cousin was a victim of gun violence, blah, 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 which valid, okay. You admitted that you locked a special needs child in a trailer in the forest, didn't say anything, saw a search party start for this child. The child's father comes to your door. You're 13, 14 years old, and you lie and say you don't know what happened when you're the one who locked the kid in the trailer? Dare I say that's worse than Emma almost shooting up a school? If anything, I've seen some theories, a big debate too is like, do you think Emma's changed? I don't know if I fully think Emma's changed, but I will say, I do agree with some people saying that she's kind of, in a weird way, a success story of a child who got to that mindset and then found a community and was able to get out of it and not carry through. Because, like, let's be honest, a lot, if not all school shooters at this point, if they had been helped way earlier, it would have been prevented. And so I get that logic. Rachel fully did that. She fully locked a special needs child in the forest because, I don't know, she thought the kid was weird. They were following, and then the kid started screaming. She was like, I don't know, so I just left him in there. And then a search party started, and I didn't say anything. And the dad came, and I was really scared of him, so I didn't say anything. And then they're like, what happened to him? And she goes, I don't know. And then she sees everyone's reaction like, what the fuck do you mean you don't know what happened to this kid that you locked in the middle of a forest who was special needs? What? And then she's like, they found him, like, he's alive, which, like, low-key, I don't believe. I think she's fully lying at that point. She says, like, they found him and it, it was just a scare or whatever. I think she was lying. I think she realized how bad it looked to everybody, and then she backtracked and said, actually, like, no, they found him, like, he's alive. No, I think either she genuinely doesn't know because she never cared enough to follow up, or the kid died. Like, or the kid was never found and that search party is still happening to this day, which is like, so awful. Also, the subtle moment where Rachel's racist towards her black husband, that was crazy. When she's talking about, Emma, her growing up around guns and violence isn't an excuse because he grew up around guns and he came out fine. And then her husband's like, what the fuck? No, I didn't. Like, I had, like, an uncle who was a cop, but I did not grow up around guns. Fully playing into the stereotype of, like, he's black, like, he grew up around violence, like, and he's fine. Dude, all my homies hate Rachel. Oh my God. She was so annoying. Also, she kind of gave the only reason I care about gun violence is because my cousin was a victim. Which, like, yes, that can be your reasoning, but also, like, it's giving shallow. It's giving you only care about things if they actually affect you. So if we want to pick a real villain, I think the real villain is Rachel, because I do think she's low-key a murderer. Unconfirmed, though, for legal purposes. I have so many other thoughts. Let me see if I've said them all. Oh my God! Side note, I think Emma killed a dog. I think, and that's one thing she never verbally says, but there's a scene where she's at her desk and she's thinking of practicing with the rifle, and then it shows a dog, and then you hear a shot, and then she's like jump scared by her coworker. I think that's something she fully kept to herself, is that she actually killed an animal, which, like, if you didn't know, that is a symptom of, like, psychopaths, is like killing animals before you, like, actually move on to killing people. So that's evidence that maybe Emma is still a psychopath and she just has those tendencies and she's been suppressing that. I don't know. If you ask me what I would have done if I were Charlie, I don't know. I do think it would make me heavily question my partner. I don't know if I'd feel it. When I think about what I feel for Hunter, I don't know if it would get to the point where I could fully dismiss my feelings for him and just like up and leave him. But I'm not saying it wouldn't. I don't know, man. God. Okay, I'm gonna stop talking about this movie. But I do have to rate it. I will give it, what did I give it? Honestly, I think I'll give the movie like a 7 out of 10. There are issues I have with it, mainly with how it was advertised. Because even though the advertisement didn't upset me, like I personally, I've never been in a setting where I'm like, I wish I had a trigger warning before I saw this. Like I'm not as sensitive to stuff like that. I appreciate genuinely not knowing what Emma did before watching it, because I'm one of those people, I like to know as little as possible before I go see a movie, and like that really did up the experience for me, is like genuinely feeling the same shock as the characters. But I also can fully see from other people's perspectives that like, no, you should have a trigger warning on this. There are some things in it that I think could have been done better, or like not done better, but maybe fleshed out better. But also, like, did I want it to be any longer? I don't think so. Zendaya and Robert Pattinson, and honestly the whole cast, like, did a good job. The acting was great. I don't think this is Zendaya's best character she's ever played. I saw people saying that. I think Emma was a really interesting character and very nuanced, but if we're talking about, like, acting-wise, in my opinion, the character with the most range that I've ever seen Zendaya play to this day is Rue from Euphoria. Like, and if you haven't watched Euphoria, I get it. It looks like a messy show, but like the acting performances in that show are crazy. But yeah, 7 out of 10. I've talked about basically the whole movie. If you've heard everything that I've said and you still want to watch, I think it's worth your time. But if you're somebody who gets really anxious just being in theaters in general, don't watch this movie in theaters. Because for me, it exacerbated it. And I got like really anxious for a solid point in there and like debated leaving just to like not feel as scared because of the insane world we live in. And like my cousin literally left. She was like, I can't do this, which is valid. So if you feel like you connect more with like how my cousin reacted, yeah, wait until it comes out on streaming. It's still a very interesting movie. It's very thought-provoking. It's very, I don't know, it's just so different in the aspect of it really does focus around, is knowing everything about everyone better or worse? Because not only do you find out things about the main characters, but you also find out things about people who aren't the main characters, who it does put things into a different perspective. Like they found out their wedding DJ was doing heroin in the streets, and then it made them fire her when there was a conversation. Well, you really liked her before, and if you had never seen her doing it, like, would you have changed your mind about having her there? Or like with Charlie, you know, finding out this information about Emma, it's like, do you think he would have been better off not knowing? Because Charlie starts going through feeling like, oh, maybe I don't know her. But it's very possible that, no, you do know Emma. You know her character. It's just you didn't know that this is where she came from. But she's still the same person who you grew to love. But now he knows that information, and now all of that is put into question. So it's like, it really does play with that idea of like, do you need to know everything? And is knowing everything worth it? Is knowing everything better? Yeah. Heavy topics in this episode. Okay, we're gonna move on to my last two little topics. Being a hater for motorcycles. Okay, so after seeing the drama, we left and there was like a motorcycle, I don't know what it's called, when they're like a club and they have like little lights and jackets and whatever. It's like 1 a.m. at this point. We're at a light at an intersection, and they're going across the intersection. Our light turns green. They keep going. They keep going. and then our light turns red again, and then it turns green, and they're still going. There's like a million of them. And the light turns red, and then it turns green, and it, like, we just sit through a couple of cycles of this light because they don't stop. And then it just reignited the hatred I have for motorcycles. And here, I know I sound like a hater. Do I think motorcycles are cool? Yes. I think the idea of going zoom, zoom fast on a bike that looks really cool is inherently cool. Why I hate motorcycles? I just hate that they just make it so easy for you to die. In my head, I'm like, dude, one wrong move from you or someone else who maybe doesn't see you, because that's the thing, is like, people will check, for cars on the road and their brain won't register that there's a bike there. And then they hit the biker and the biker dies because you're just raw. There's no, And like, I've told Hunter, and he's never voiced wanting to like get a motorcycle, but I've literally told him, like, if he one day came home and was like, Danielle, I want to get a motorcycle and I want to join a motorcycle club and blah, 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 blah. I think I would like legitimately consider leaving him. Like, I don't have the anxiety for that. And I know people in my life who have had people in their lives die on motorcycles. Like, no. If you're a fan of motorcycles, I'm not saying I hate you. I'm just saying I hate motorcycles. I hate what they lack, which is protection. It's one thing getting into an accident in a SUV versus getting into an accident and you could be going 50 miles, but if you raw dog concrete at 50 miles, lights out, man. Anyways, so I'm sorry to my motorcycle owners out there. I get it. I do think they're cool, but I think it's a little, I hate to say it, I think it's a little dumb. I think it's a little dumb to be so okay with, hey, and if one thing goes wrong, I'm just dead. But hey, I got to go really fast. I guess that is just something I am a hater on. And then moving on to my last topic, I realized unintentionally the other day that I guess I've never worn a tank top before. My cousin was wearing what I thought was a tank top. It has little spaghetti straps and then it's like kind of form-fitting. It was like black. And so we were talking about it, and then she was like, yeah, my camisole, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, camisole? I was like, your camisole? She was like, yeah, my camisole. And then she continues to talk, and I'm like, where's your camisole? And she's like, I'm wearing it. Y'all, this whole time, I thought a camisole was like a shawl. I don't know if it's because they kind of rhyme, camisole, shawl. I don't know. I just never, I thought what my cousin was wearing was called a spaghetti tank top. But apparently, like, the actual name for, like, when it's a tank top, but it's spaghetti straps, is a camisole. And an actual tank top is, like, where it has, like, the thicker strap. Dude. So then this whole time I've been calling my I guess, camisoles, I've been calling them tank tops. Turns out, I guess I've never worn a tank top before. Because every time I wear, like, an undershirt or a top to go, like, underneath, I don't know, like a cardigan, like, just, I'll have my little, what I thought was a tank top, and I'll put, like, a cute little knitted cardigan over it. Yeah, no. That's not a tank top. That's a freaking camisole. You learn something new every day. I found out what a camisole was at 26 years old. Am I proud of that? No. Am I a little embarrassed? Yes. Yes. Am I interested in buying myself an actual tank top just to say that I've actually worn one? Yeah. Because what do you mean I'm 26 and I've never actually worn a tank top? I just feel like that sounds weird. And that is the end of the episode. Pretty insane topics today. Pretty dark topics. So you know what? If you stuck out this whole episode with me, power to you. I've had a lot of thoughts in my brain. But since this is the John Doe review, I gotta leave a 5-star, or not a 5-star, but a review out of 5 stars for the past 2 weeks. I'm gonna give them, honestly, like 2.5. It's our lowest rating out of the year. And the reason I'm doing 2.5 is because, one, lot of crazy topics and conversations that I've had regarding things that I've read and watched. Crazy, stress-inducing, but also outside life stress-inducing. I'm really stressed about Japan, but in a good way. I'm stressed and excited. So everything will be fine. Once I get to the airport, like I said, I'll be able to, and then I know once we get to Japan, I'm going to have a blast, and I know Hunter's going to have an amazing time, because he's also been talking about how excited he is. And so yay for baby's first international trip, and yay for baby's first international trip without my parents. 2.5 stars, mainly because of stress, mainly because of realizing how dangerous and insane life is. And so I hope you guys stay safe, and I will see you in 2 weeks. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment. There's quite a few topics you could comment on in this episode, and I would love to hear thoughts. And yeah, do all of the things. You can find this podcast literally anywhere. By the time this posts, I will be turning it up in Japan. So if you text me, I may not be able to respond very quickly. Thanks for watching, and y'all stay safe out there. Bye.